So in this video, we're going to watch a caller try to defend Donald Trump and get completely dismantled by the host with straight facts. Let's dive in, and toward the end, I'll share my full thoughts.
When we left Europe after the referendum,
yes,
Europe imposed on the UK a particularly tough, rigid deal that has stunted growth in the UK and, threatened our defences as well. I would rather be allied. Trump's 3.5 years left of his tenancy, and then he's gone.
Well, there's some dispute over that, isn't there? There are suggestions that he might refuse to move. We don't know what will happen, but certainly, my problem with people saying he definitely will call another election and it will be free and fair and everything will be fine is that everybody who said that the fears about Trump were exaggerated at the beginning of his second term have been proved wrong. He's been worse, if anything, than people feared. So we do have to consider that possibility, don't we?
Well, is he worse? I mean, I think we could learn a few lessons here from Trump. Not everything he's doing, obviously, is correct, but he is putting his country first, and he's doing the things. Why should he be propping up NATO with funds disproportionate to the other contributors?
Well, hang on, but we're talking about the silencing of journalists. We're talking about threatening of academic institutions, the closing down of the Department for Education, thousands of people losing their jobs through these swinging cuts, thousands of people losing millions of people losing their social security. How is that good for America?
Why should the government and taxpayers be paying for people who aren't doing a job? Why should the department? We're closing down the NHS thing here because there's a doubling of duties and we're wasting money.
Well, we're not closing down the Department of Education, though, are we? We want people to be educated to a high standard. And also welfare payments, so-called welfare payments, are shown to pay dividends in terms of the whole of society. Cutting them saves money in the short term and means that there are more expenses to the exchequer in the long term.
Possibly, but what we're doing here is trying to cut out people who are robbing the taxpayer in welfare payments, and Trump is doing the same thing. He's just not prepared to pay people who are freeloaders. I don't
think that you understand the extent to which Trump is eroding the very fabric of democracy and becoming an authoritarian.
I'm not as clever as you.
No, it's not a question of cleverness. It's just a question of looking at what he is doing and saying this is an authoritarian figure. This completely changes the world order. America was supposed to be the leader of the free world, and we were supposed to be allied with them, and Europe was supposed to be allied with them. And that has been the case since the end of World War II. The US administration's behaviour has fundamentally messed with the dynamic of that, and we need to do something in response. So what should we do? We ally ourselves with the wannabe dictator?
I think I would rather hitch my wagon to America in the long term on the basis that Trump isn't going to be there after 3.5 years, than with Europe, who we've been at war with effectively for 500 years in one form or another, and who put us to the sword when we left, even as recently as 2016. I
take issue with your framing of that. They were very clear that there was only one type of Brexit deal that was feasible and that would be disadvantageous to the UK. You can't just allow people to leave a union and to have more benefits or equal benefits than they had before they left it. That defeats the purpose of a union. They were very clear on that from day one. It's our politicians that lied to us and said that it wouldn't affect us in the way that it has.
Okay, I accept that. I accept that. Nonetheless, Germany, France, Spain, over 300-400 years, those alliances have shifted tremendously in all different directions. And I would feel more secure in England with America as my security blanket than Europe as my security blanket.
And what about even if we were able to obtain some favour from Donald Trump, what about the fact that he famously turns on a sixpence, listens most to the last person who was in his ear, changes his mind at the last minute? What about the instability that brings about?
I don't know, but I sense that on some of the this would be a massive issue to America. I don't believe that they would want to be bad friends, call it, with the United Kingdom, given the tie-up in security information, having a solid partner on the European front. I think it's a special relationship, and Trump, I think he loved it when Keir Starmer pulled out a letter from the King, didn't he?
But then went on to slap tariffs on our steel, so it obviously didn't mean that much to him, did it?
Well, we're putting VAT on all of his products. We're putting tariffs on his products. So, again,
in retaliation. Things are changing so quickly. I hear what you're saying, Spencer, and thank you for your call, and thank you for making your debut to LBC.
There were so many layers in that call that I had to pause and really take it in. And honestly, this is exactly why I wanted to break it down for people watching from outside the UK. Because what you just heard on that phone line, that wasn't an isolated moment. That's a pattern. The same pattern you see in the US with the MAGA base is showing up right here on British soil, almost word for word, almost mindset for mindset. What struck me most was how confidently he delivered points that were just flat out wrong. Not partially wrong, not misinformed, but fundamentally broken arguments. And yet, he pushed them with full conviction. And every time the host gently but firmly corrected him, what happened? He did what a lot of Trump defenders do when they hit the wall of reality. He folded, he backpedaled, he admitted, well, you know more than me. Or actually, yes, that's right. And that tells you everything. I've seen the same dynamic in the United States. People absorbing Trump's talking points like scripture, repeating them without context, without evidence, and without ever asking, does this even make sense? And now I'm watching people in the UK doing the exact same thing. Parroting lines they didn't research, defending positions they don't fully understand, and treating political rhetoric like a football team they have to protect at all costs. And here's what I always come back to. When a person's entire worldview rests on one politician's narrative, the truth becomes optional. Facts become inconvenient. Accountability becomes the enemy. That's why I genuinely appreciated how the host handled this call. Calm, sharp, patient, but uncompromising. She dismantled each talking point with receipts, not emotion. And that's exactly what we need more of. People willing to challenge misinformation in real time instead of letting it spread unchecked. Because the problem isn't just that people repeat lies. The deeper issue is that many of them don't know what they don't know. They sincerely believe the slogans, they sincerely believe the distortions, and they sincerely believe that defending Trump, or any strongman figure, is the same as defending the country. And that's how democracies get manipulated, not by loud radicals alone, but by ordinary people who have been fed a steady diet of talking points wrapped in certainty. So yes, this was a good video. More importantly, it was a snapshot of the political reality we're dealing with. Trump loyalists in the US, and now Trump loyalists in the UK echoing messages they barely understand. Same arguments, same assumptions, same misinformation pipelines. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm genuinely curious how people interpret exchanges like this. And if you're new here and you enjoy hearing an outsider's perspective on American politics, feel free to subscribe and join the community. And while you're already down there, hitting the like button genuinely helps the channel and pushes this kind of analysis out to more people.